Hi all, hope you are doing great. So today we are going to discuss about burn up and burn down charts in agile projects. Sometimes we get confused between both of them and we wonder how to use burn up and how to use burn down. So in this video I am going to tell all the basics along with the examples of burn up and burn down charts. Firstly, it's important for you to know that the concept of burn up and burn down charts come from the burn rate concept in project management. So basically, burn rate is the rate at which hours allocated to a project are being spent. We can measure burn rate in any other units as well, like cost or effort. So, what is a burn down chart? The burn down chart shows the amount of work remaining on a project. In case you are using Scrum framework to manage the project, then you can consider one project as one sprint. The benefits of burn down chart are that first, it gets you into a process retrospection because if the amount of work remaining within a sprint is not decreasing significantly as the days are passing by, then definitely there are some bottlenecks in your process. So you can initiate discussions with your team about the obstacles and how to remove them. Second is that it identifies the risk because if the actual remaining and ideal remaining work lines are not coinciding or they are too far, then it means that you will not be able to complete the project on time. So, based on the current burn rate, a projection is given, and looking at that projection, you will get to understand if there is any risk in completing the project or the sprint goals on time. Let's understand more through this example. So, suppose we are in a sprint of 7 days. The horizontal line is showing each of the day and the vertical line here is showing the effort in hours. So on the day 1, the remaining amount of work left for the team was 70 hours. And as we progressed, this blue line is actually showing the actual progress. So as the days passed by, uh, the remaining work decreased and you can see the downward trends here till day 4, and then there is a kind of flattened line between day 4 and day 5, and the amount of work got further decreased, and finally on the last day of the sprint the team had around 15 hours of work left, but ideally they should have completed all the work. So this blue line is the actual remaining hours and this green line is the ideal trend. So on day 1, team should had left with the 60 hours, and on day 7 they should had left with nothing, that is they should have completed all the work. So you can see here that this trend is in the beginning there is a very small amount of burn hours, and then in the middle of the sprint you can see a good downfall, and then towards the end of the sprint it again became flattened and steady. So in actual projects, you will rarely see the actual trend coinciding with the ideal trend. This blue line will rarely coincide with the green line in actual real life projects. The reason being, when the projects get initiated, so in the starting phase, the progress is little slow because people are trying to understand about the work, and then projects are at their top notch speed during the execution phase. So between day 2 and day 4 here you can see very good progress, and then we will see what is the reason of the flattened line between day 4 and day 5, because this uh, burn down chart doesn't tells you whether any additional work was added in between. Now when projects are at their ending or closure phase, again the speed becomes slower than how it was during the execution phase, might be because of getting approvals or other things. So generally you will see this kind of the trend, but it is very important to understand the trend and analyze and get into a retrospection with your team that why this is happening. Now let's talk about burn up charts. So burn up charts shows the amount of work completed on a project or a sprint, unlike burn down which shows the amount of work remaining. So the benefits of burn up charts are that it increases the motivation because the visualization of the finished work really motivates the team. The second is the scope tracking. The burn up chart also gives you insight into if there was any added work within in middle of the project or in middle of the sprint. So if there was any added or reduced scope, it will tell you that as well. And finally, it helps you in tracking the amount of work which is getting finished. So at any particular point of time, you can see the actual progress versus what amount of work should had been finished by this time. It is important that both burn down and burn up charts are used together because they complement each other. Some of the great insights are being given by burn down and some of the great insights are being given by burn up chart. Here is an example of a burn up. So the orange line is showing the total scope in hours, the green line is the ideal completed hours, and blue line is the actual completed hours. So on day 1, we had 70 hours of work in our scope. The actual completed was 0, but ideal completed was 10. And we can see here on day 2, the team could complete some more work, very little, maybe 4 hours, but the ideal completed was 20 hours. On day 3, the team showed a very good progress. They could complete 10 hours, but still they are behind the actual completed, which was 30 hours. Now, between day 3 and day 6, you can see the team progressed at a steady and a good pace. So, on day 6, they could complete 70 hours of work and they could even uh, come above the ideal trend. But between day 6 and day 7, they could not finish much. And in this orange line, you can see interesting thing that the scope got increased between day 3 and day 4. So on day 3, you had 70 hours of work in the scope, but 10 more hours of work was added to the project and the total scope became 80. So this kind of insight you cannot see in the burn down. This kind of insight you can only see in the burn up. So it will help you to retrospect that you know why you are having a certain trend, because you will also get to understand if there were any changes in the scope of the work. So this is a example of a burn up. Again, as I said, it is very rare that your green and blue lines will coincide, and trust me, if it is happening then there is something wrong, because in the real life projects you have lot of situations, you have lot of impediments, so your actual trend can never be a steady upward flow like this green line. But it is important that you are making a good progress and you know that why this trend is occurring. So it's important that you do the trend analysis. If you have any questions, thoughts, or comments, or want to share your experiences around this topic of burn up and burn down charts, then feel free to post it in the comments box. And further, if you are looking for any trainings, courses, or certifications in project management, Agile, Scrum, Kanban, or other topics like cloud, data science, etc., then you can explore Knowledge Hut. I have also given my exclusive discount coupon here, and the details are also mentioned in the description of this video. Thank you. Bye bye.